Welcome to the Cozza Lawcast, where life, business, and the law collide. And now, here's your host, attorney, and founder of the Cozza Law Group, Rocco Cozza.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Cozza Lawcast. Today I want to talk to you about asset protection as an entrepreneur. Now, many people have seen TV commercials out there, maybe you've been online and you hear all the rage about asset protection. But what does it really mean? Well, what it means is protecting the things you've acquired throughout your career. Maybe it's your business, maybe it's money you have in the bank, maybe it's your investments, rental properties. But it's an entire strategy you put together to give yourself the best possible protection, to ensure your assets do not become part of a lawsuit. Now, obviously, there's no 100% foolproof way to make sure everything's protected, but there are a few strategies you can employ right now to start protecting your assets. And I want to talk about a few of those today. Now, again, let me preface this with an asset protection plan is very individualized. You know, we work with each client on an individual basis, look at what they have, how they're set up, and we build the plans according to the client. But there are a few things you can think about, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first one, it's really not involving us at all, but it's insurance. Making sure you have adequate insurance. That, if you have rental properties, that's making sure you have a very good landlord's policy with general liability protection. So if someone slips and falls on the property because maybe you didn't get there in time to ice the sidewalks or clean up the yard, that insurance is going to protect you. That's first if you have rental properties. If you have business, you want to make sure you have business insurance, general liability insurance. And something we learned throughout the pandemic is the importance of business interruption insurance. That means if your business is shut down for some reason, this insurance will keep paying you. That's an important thing. As an individual, you want to make sure you have an umbrella policy. If you've acquired assets and maybe you have a couple $100,000 or over $1 million in net worth or assets, you want to make sure you have an umbrella policy. They're relatively cheap to get every year, but they protect you in the event other insurance that you have doesn't cover the claim. It's a great policy to have. The other type of insurance you want to think about is life insurance, right? One of your biggest assets is your ability to earn income for your family, to support your family. If you have a business, to support your business and employees. What would happen if something happened to you? You want to make sure that is insured. So that's the first piece of an asset protection strategy, is just looking at your insurance. The next thing you want to look at is how are your businesses or assets structured? Do you own them in your individual name or do you own them in entities? One of the biggest things you need to do is make sure that if you have a business that is generating substantial income and maybe has some significant risk to it, you want to put that in an entity, maybe an LLC, a corporation, a partnership, a limited partnership. But you want to make sure you have the appropriate entities structured for your business. And with an asset protection strategy, right, you don't want to put all of your business interests and assets into the same entity. The way I look at things for myself, I have real estate in certain entities. I have my businesses in other entities. I don't mix the two. Now, when it comes to real estate and real estate investments, there's a whole other subsection of asset protection. How do you segregate the real estate assets? Maybe you put a few houses in one LLC that are in a rundown area. Maybe you put your higher value properties in single LLCs each. You kind of want to shift the equity around. There's a lot of different strategies you can do when it comes to real estate investing. And we sit down with our clients and go through their portfolio, look at how it's currently structured, and then we make adjustments if we need to make sure they're given the best protection. Because when you start acquiring these assets and businesses, you want to, one, have the insurance like I talked about, two, have them structured in entities, and then three, make sure you can make yourself appear to be judgment proof. And there are a lot of interesting ways you can do that, and that's really the third piece of the asset protection strategy. where that is, you can really create liens against the properties that if someone gets hurt or someone sues you and they go to look for your assets or do a financial search, they may see there are these liens on properties. So there's not much equity to come after. But you can create those liens between companies you own, and that's a whole other asset protection strategy. Now, the last piece you want to think about when it comes to your assets is, right, how do you protect the legacy of your assets? And that comes down to an estate plan. Making sure you have an appropriate estate plan in place. That's your wills, your trusts, your powers of attorney. What happens in the event of your death or if you become disabled? How are those assets taken care of? How are they protected? And how are they managed? That is part of an asset protection strategy. It's not just about avoiding lawsuits. It's not just about structuring entities and getting insurance. All of these things work hand in hand, right? You have your insurance, you have your entity protection, and then you have your estate planning, which gives that long-term legacy, that long-term planning. So these are a few of the things you should definitely think about as an entrepreneur. If you started acquiring assets, even if you just own a business right now, this is something you definitely want to think about. And when it comes to asset protection, don't think you have to have millions upon millions of dollars to put an asset protection strategy in place. I mean, they're not, depending on your situation, obviously the expenses are dependent upon the situation. But in reality, setting up an entity is not that difficult and it's not that expensive to have it done right. And that gives you protection. Getting insurance in place, depending on the policies, they're not extremely expensive. Same thing with an estate plan. So these are things, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. If you're an entrepreneur and you're starting to acquire wealth in businesses, these are things you need to think about now. Hope you enjoyed this video, this episode of the Cozza Lawcast. If you haven't done so, go check out our website. I will put the link right here. If you haven't done so as well, follow us on Facebook. And lastly, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you know when we post our next video. Again, thank you all for watching. Obviously, this isn't meant to be legal advice. This is merely educational in nature. I hope this entertained and informed you. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.
Thanks for listening to the Cozza Lawcast, where life, business, and the law collide. To find out more about the Cozza Law Group, check out www.cozzalaw.com.